Shabbat Shalom, kids! And welcome to your TORAH Adventure Library. I'm Olive Tiles, and each Sabbath we'll go on amazing adventures together with our favorite librarian, Miss Elsie. So gather around, and get ready for story time with Miss Elsie!
Aw, thanks, Olive Top.
Hey kids, it's Miss Elsie. Today's story can be found in the book of Luke chapter 21 and Acts chapter 1 and 2. Let's begin. After he rose from the dead, the disciples saw Jesus many times. At first, it was strange to have him back. In some ways, he was like a ghost. He could go through walls, and he could appear at any time in the most unexpected places. One day, two disciples were walking along the road when Jesus joined them. They didn't recognize him at first, not until they got home and had a meal together. When Jesus took the bread and broke it, they realized who it was. It was exactly the same way he had broken bread the night before he died. In other ways, however, Jesus was not like a ghost at all. One time, he met the disciples when they were fishing and had breakfast with them on the shore. Ghosts certainly do not eat fish for breakfast. The disciples were thrilled to have him back. "You won't ever leave us, will you?" asked Peter one day. "It was so awful when you died." "I don't think I could go through that sort of pain again," said James, fighting back the tears. "I have to leave you," said Jesus. "I must return to my Father in heaven, where I came from. I have done the job I came to do." The disciples looked glum. "But don't be sad. One day when you die, you will come to be with me. I'll be waiting for you, and then we will be together forever." "It'll never be the same without you," said Thomas. "We'll be so lonely on our own," said Peter. "You won't be on your own," Jesus promised. "I will send my Holy Spirit. When I go up to heaven, He will come to you. You can't see Him or touch Him, but otherwise He's just like me. He will live inside you. He will stop you feeling lonely, and it'll be just like having me with you all the time. I promise you, He will never ever leave you." "But I'd rather die tomorrow than live without you," cried John. "Let me come to heaven now." "No," said Jesus. "You have a job to do. You must tell people all over the world about me. Tell them how I came to earth to rescue them and that I love them." Jesus led them up to the Mount of Olives outside Jerusalem. Then he said to them, "It is time to leave. Don't be afraid. Wait for my Holy Spirit, my helper. He'll be coming soon." While he was talking, Jesus rose up into the clouds until the disciples could no longer see him. They were staring up into the sky with their mouths open when two angels appeared. "Stop staring," one said. "He'll be back one day, when this world comes to an end and a new one begins." So, the disciples started back for Jerusalem to wait for the Holy Spirit whom Jesus had promised. As the disciples left the Mount of Olives, they felt sad and puzzled. "I wish he could have stayed forever," said John. "It won't be the same without him. Life will never be the same again." They talked about all they had seen, about Jesus disappearing into the clouds, and about the angels. "What shall we do now?" asked Peter. "We must do what Jesus told us. We must wait until the Holy Spirit comes." So, for the next month, the disciples met together every day. Some of the women who had been friends of Jesus joined them. Every day they prayed to God, and each day they waited. But nothing happened. The Spirit did not come. One day, they were praying together in the upper room as usual when the most extraordinary things began to happen. First, there was a very loud noise which sounded like a gale-force wind. The disciples thought the house was about to fall down. Then what looked like flames came down from the ceiling and landed on the disciples' heads. It looked like their hair was on fire, but not a single hair on their heads was burnt. They felt power, like electricity, go through their bodies, and they tingled all over. It felt rather like pins and needles, only it was a nice feeling. The Holy Spirit had arrived at last. The disciples were thrilled. They rushed out of the house and onto the streets. They all started to speak at once. But the oddest thing happened. They all spoke in foreign languages they didn't know. "What's going on?" asked people from all over the world who had come to the festival. "How come these people know so many of our languages?" Some of them laughed. "They're talking gibberish. They must be drunk." But Peter stood up and explained. "We're not drunk," he said, "but we are excited." And he told them all about Jesus, the rescuer. He told them how Jesus had died and then come back to life, how he had gone up to heaven, and how he had promised his Holy Spirit would come down. "And today he has," said Peter. "The Holy Spirit has come down, and now he is living inside us. And that's how we can speak in different languages." And from that day on, the disciples went around telling people the story of Jesus and how he had rescued the world from death. Then did many miracles. Some strange things happened to them, and they had many adventures. But wherever they went, Jesus went with them. His Spirit lived in them, and they knew that from then on, wherever they went, whatever they did, they would never ever be alone, for Jesus had promised he would always be with them. The end. Before I go, kids, we do have a memory verse. Today's memory verse is found in Psalm 119:105. Are you ready? "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path."
Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119:105.
All right, kids, until next time. Bye.
Hi kids, this is Miss Elsie. Olive Top is hiding somewhere, and I need your help to locate him. So keep watching today's Shabbat service. He could show up anywhere on any video. Now when you see him, shout, "Shabbat Shalom, Olive Top." Let me hear you say it. Great job. Remember, as soon as you spot him, shout it. I look forward to seeing all of you next week to hear all about it. Shabbat Shalom, kids.